My name is Elena Sokova. I'm the Executive Director of the Vienna Center for Disarmament and Non-Proliferation. And it is my greatest pleasure to welcome all of you today on behalf of the VCDNP and our partner, the Institute of International Affairs in Italy, and the European Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Consortium, who are behind the initiative focused on engaging young professionals and students in the non-proliferation, arms control, and disarmament field. As part of that initiative, which is officially called the Young Women and Non-Proliferation Initiative, we are organizing a series of webinars specifically geared to young professionals, and also have a formal mentorship program. As part of our work in this area, many of our mentees and other young participants in our events voiced their interest to hear more about opportunities to work at international organizations, and also how to be engaged with them, even if that engagement does not necessarily involve a formal employment. A similar topic was discussed at the meeting of the gender champions in Vienna. And I'm, as one of the gender champions myself, have had several discussions with the heads of international organizations and ambassadors here in Vienna, where they underlined that it is indeed something that many of the young professionals, particularly women, are interested, but quite often do not know where to start, don't have enough information about these various opportunities. So this webinar is really an attempt to address some of these issues. And I'm really delighted, and I'm very grateful that the international organizations in Vienna, namely the International Atomic Energy Agency, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, all agreed to join me today and have that discussion. We will focus on the issues that are related to skills and competencies that are required to work at international organizations. What do recruitment services specifically look for, and how to best prepare for a career at an international organization? How does the application process work? And what pathway exists to internships, training, capacity building programs, and other opportunities? And I'm extremely delighted that we have today 3 speakers joining us from each of the 3 organizations in Vienna. Mr. Pedro Álvarez Cobacho, acting head, recruitment unit of the IAEA, Ms. Maria Chepurina, external relations officer at the CTBTO, and Mr. Paul Henriksson, associate talent acquisition officer at OSCE. So thank you so much again for joining us today. A few words before I pass the floor to you about the way we would proceed with the webinar. First of all, due to the high number of registrations, as I mentioned, we had more than 600 people registered. At some point, if we reach the limit that our Zoom license allows, we will redirect all other participants to watch the webinar on YouTube, which is transmitted concurrently live right now. And all of you received links to both. So if at a certain point you cannot enter Zoom, please join us on YouTube. We will use Q&A function for questions after I open the floor for questions. But and you also could send questions to our email address, events@vcdnp.org. But without taking more time, I think we should give the floor to the representatives from the organizations and have them guide you through their recruitment policies, the processes, what kind of programs they have, and opportunities for engagement for young professionals and students. We'll start with Mr. Cobacho, and then Maria will speak, and then Paul. So Pedro, my biggest pleasure to welcome you. Please, the microphone is yours.
Thank you very, very much, Elena. It's a pleasure and it's an honor to participate in these webinars. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pedro Álvarez Cobacho. I'm acting unit head of recruitment at the IAEA at the moment, and I've been invited to present to you a short presentation and also to participate in this discussion. So I will proceed now with my presentation. I will share my screen, so I hope you have you can see it now. So I will be chatting with you not so long for a few minutes. So I would like to present to you what types of opportunities the IAEA offers to young professionals, and also I would like to give you a few tips on how to best prepare for those opportunities. Yeah. So let me start by giving you a short overview of the organization. So as most of you probably know, the IAEA is widely known as the world's Atoms for Peace and Development organization. So where the International Center for Cooperation in the Nuclear Field. The agency works with its member states and multiple partners worldwide to promote the safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear technologies. Yeah? Although we're part of the UN family, we're considered a specialized agency, and our mandate requires a high degree of independence. Yeah? So the IAEA makes direct contributions to 9 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we are doing this through nuclear science and technology. Yeah? So the vast majority of our staff are located in our headquarters in Vienna, but we also have different offices in Tokyo, in Toronto, and we also have liaison offices in New York and Geneva, and laboratories in Monaco and Cybersdorf. Yeah. So there is currently a strong focus on diversity at the IAEA. So our DG is underlining this aspect a lot, and strong efforts are being made to increase the representation of women at the agency and also of nationals of developing countries. So the IAEA offers a challenging environment, so very interesting assignments, very stimulating a multicultural workplace. Yeah. So as international civil servants, our colleagues or staff members at the agency engage with current and meaningful issues of global peace, security, and development. So I must say it's a very fulfilling job. So although the IAEA is strongly focused on the nuclear field, we offer employment opportunities in a large variety of areas. Yeah? On the slide, you can see the different departments of the IAEA. So we have the Department of Management, which provides a platform of services that enables the IAEA to successfully deliver its scientific and technical programs. Yeah? We have the Department of Technical Cooperation, which is responsible for formulating and delivering the IAEA's development mandate. Yeah? We have then the technical departments, which are the Department of Nuclear Energy, which fosters sustainable nuclear energy development by supporting existing and new nuclear programs around the world. The Department of Nuclear Science and Applications, which covers a broad range of socioeconomic sectors from health, food, agriculture, the environment, water resources industry, etc. Yeah? Then we have the Department of Nuclear Safety and Security, which aims at providing a strong, sustainable, and visible global nuclear safety and security framework. Yeah? And then we have the Department of Safeguards, which carries out the IAEA's duties and responsibilities as the world's nuclear inspectorate, so by supporting global efforts to stop the spread of nuclear weapons. We also have a few offices which are reporting directly to the Secretary General. You cannot see those on the slide, but those offices are the Office of Public Information and Communication, the Office of Legal Affairs, the Secretariat of the Policy-Making Organs, and the Office of Internal Oversight Services. Those are reporting directly to the Director General, and those are also offering employment opportunities. Yeah. So as I said, it's important to mention that there is this strong focus on gender equality at the agency. So the agency is committed to reaching gender parity in professional and higher categories by 2025. This is something very, very ambitious, but our DG is very adamant, is very determined in achieving that. Yeah. Okay, so let's focus now on the different types of assignment at the IAEA. For the purpose of this presentation, we will be focusing on the three types of opportunities highlighted in yellow. Yeah, so there will be internships, junior professional officers, and also fellowships. Yeah, so junior professional officers are job opportunities for young professionals who are national of those countries with whom the IAEA has a bilateral agreement to let's say carry out this kind of appointments. Yeah, there are certain conditions to be eligible for this program. You have to be below the age of 32, and you need to have a national of a member state that has this kind of agreements with the IAEA. So internships, so the IAEA has this internship program, which gives university students and young graduates the opportunity to gain some experience at the international level, and also to contribute to the mandate of the agency by dedicating this time to the organization. And then finally, we offer some different types of fellowships at the agency, mainly TC and NE, so Technical Cooperation and Nuclear Energy are those departments which are offering this kind of fellowships. We will be focusing on the Marie Curie Fellowship Program, which is currently open for applications, and I would encourage you to look into it, and if you're interested, then apply for it. Yeah, so the internship program, as I said, offers some post every year for interns to come to work at the IAEA. We currently have around 100 interns. Actually, we always have around 100 interns at any given time concurrently at the agency. Yeah. So in order to be eligible for the internship program, applicants must be at least 20 years of age and have completed at least 3 years of full-time studies at the university or equivalent institution towards the completion of your first degree. Yeah, you can apply also after graduation within 1 year. Yeah, after the achievement of your bachelor's, master's, or doctorate. Yeah, and only those candidates who have not previously completed in an internship program at the agency are eligible to apply. You must have a working knowledge of English, and you need to be able to adapt to an international, multicultural, multilingual environment. So have good communication skills and be able to work in a team. Yeah. So the internships are normally last between 3 months and 1 year. Yeah. And interns are selected from candidates whose study disciplines are relevant to the agency's work. As I said before, we have a broad range of areas which we are interested. Yeah. The junior professional officer, as I said, this is designed for young professionals who are under the age of 32, who are national of one of the member states listed on this slide. So we have only 12 member states who currently have a bilateral agreement with the IAEA. Yeah, so you need to be a national of those countries and be in possession of an advanced university degree in a relevant field. Yeah, So the duration of the JPO assignment is between 1 year or 2, and the purpose of this program is to give young professionals an opportunity to gain work experience in an international environment, and also to provide the IAEA with fresh talent, so to have fresh talent coming in and contributing to the mandate. Yeah? So the JPO normally works as part of a team and under the guidance of a senior professional in either a scientific or a technical or administrative field. Yeah. The recruitment process, the selection process for JPOs are announced over the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of these respective countries. Yeah, so candidates would apply directly through their ministries, and then they are assessed by IAEA at a later stage. Yeah? And then the Maria Sklodowska-Curie Fellowship Program was launched in March 2020 by our Director General Rafael Grossi. Yeah? And this is a new fellowship to help close a persistent gender gap in the nuclear field. Yeah? This fellowship program aims to increase the number of women working in nuclear science and technology, nuclear safety and security, and also in the area of non-proliferation. Yeah? The program provides an opportunity to young women interested in the nuclear field to complete their studies and stay in this field. Yeah, the application period is open now until the end of September. So I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with the application process and submit your application if you are interested. Yeah, the fellowship program will provide scholarships to selected candidates studying towards a master's degree in nuclear science and technology, nuclear safety and security or non-proliferation, and the scholarships will be awarded to 100 students every year, subject to availability of funds. Yeah? They cover 2 years of tuition and also living expenses. In the selection process, or a technical selection committee will pay special attention to geographical representation, linguistic diversity, and different fields of studies. Yeah? The selected students will be also provided with the opportunity to pursue an internship at the IAEA or the industry for up to 12 months. Yeah. So these are the different opportunities that we offer. But what can you guys do to prepare for it? Yeah. So we live in the age of the information. Every organization makes a huge effort to present the aspects it considers important to its potential candidates. So please make use of it. Research, reach out to actors. You can gather information about what are the hot topics for each organization, and make sure that you gather that information, that you make use of it, and then you use it also to prepare your application. Yeah. Also, IAEA has a good deal of valuable resources available for candidates. Like, for instance, we have a number of webinars who are meant to help external candidates to understand our processes and to understand how they're going to be assessed. So how you're going to be assessed if you apply for a position with us. Yeah. So I strongly encourage you to check them out. Yeah. We do receive a large number of applications, so that's a fact, and you need to be aware of that. So it's very, very important that your application is impeccable, that is complete, that is relevant. So you need to invest yourself in this process. You need to make an effort for it to be really perfect. Yeah. So selection processes, in most of the cases, in most of the international organizations, include competency-based interviews or competency-based assessments. So you need to understand what that means. You need to get familiarized with that process. Yeah. It's very helpful when you understand what every competency is understood by an organization. So how an organization is expecting that you demonstrate this competence in the different areas during the selection process. So learn as much as possible about it. Yeah. Also, understand the environment. Learn as much as possible about the organization itself, the mandate. LinkedIn is a great tool. Most international organizations are very active in LinkedIn, and they send a good deal of resources of information that you can make good use of. Yeah. Also, you can reach out, enlarge your network, and reach out to those actors who have first-hand knowledge about the aspects that you're interested in. Yeah, and also be mindful of the socioeconomic and cultural changes the world is undergoing. Technology is it's progressing very fast and changing very fast. So the best way, or a simple way to prepare for that, to prepare for the future, is to keep in mind what the ILO, the International Labour Organization, has prepared based on an analysis in this direction. Yeah. So ILO basically they propose these core skills for life and work in the 21st century. So they divide these skills in 4 main areas, yeah, which they consider capital. Yeah. So the first area is social and emotional skills, and those skills that are that relate to emotional intelligence, teamwork, communication. So those are, let's say, what we call traditionally soft skills, but actually they're nothing. They're not soft at all. They're actually very, very important. Yeah. Then they another group of skills that they consider very, very important for the 21st century are cognitive and metacognitive skills. Yeah, and are those skills that are related to problem solving, analysis, learning skills, and career management. All these aspects. Yeah. Then the third skill that they propose is digital skills. I think all of us have no real choice but to be a computer literate, and I think technology is there to stay, and we are creating this dependency on technology, which is very, very important. So you need to be prepared for that. Yeah, and then they propose also a fourth area, which is basic skills from green jobs, yeah, which is basically environmental awareness, yeah, and waste reduction, have this mentality on gaining efficiency in terms of energy and water use. Yeah. So you can find us in our webpage. So you can see it at the bottom of the slide. So iaea.org/employment. You have a good deal of resources there. You find our vacancies, our internships, webinars, as I said. Everything is there. You can also find, if you scroll down the page, also our competency framework is publicly available in the webpage, and is a very, very important resource to be used. Yeah. Also, when you click on our current vacancies, this is the kind of screen that you will see. You can filter the current vacancies by location, by type of appointments. You can actually play a little bit with the different views. Yeah. And yeah, and that's it on my side. So I thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Well, thank you so much, Pedro, and thank you for, it's a lot of interesting and important information, and I'm sure that there are some additional questions that our listeners have, but we will return to that after all speakers finish their presentations. And could you stop sharing the screen? Oh, perfect. That's great.
I just did. Thank you.
That's perfect. And now I'm really delighted to give the floor to Maria Chepurina from the CTBTO for your remarks. Maria, please.
Thank you very much, Elena, for this amazing invitation, for your kind introduction. I can tell you I'm a huge fan of the work done by VCDNP under your leadership. It's always top quality events with a very engaging audience and great discussions. So I very much look forward also to today's event and discussion afterwards. And also a thank you for Mara and Federica, who are behind the scenes now, but who have done an amazing job on making also a contribution to this project. My name is Maria Chepurina, and I'm External Relations Officer at the Comprehensive Nuclear Test and Treaty Organization, which, as some of you may or may not know, prohibits nuclear test explosions by everyone and everywhere. I also coordinate the work of the CTBTO Youth Group, which is an amazing initiative. I will be talking to you a little bit more afterwards, both for young professionals, but also for university students who are interested in nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation, and who would also want to get more closely involved with the work that we're doing. As we have two fantastic, very experienced HR colleagues on this call, with most of the things that they are mentioning also valid for the work of the CTBTO, I decided to give you a different perspective on how to join an international organization and also how to work in it as a young or more senior professional, sharing my personal experience, sharing my personal journey into the CTBTO. So what I will do, I will share with you 3 advice which you will be definitely able to apply throughout your journey, making your first steps in the direction of joining international organizations. And one important element before I continue with my advice is that CTBTO actually has 185 member states that have signed the treaty. So I'm pretty confident most of you on this call are eligible for employment, internship, and other opportunities that we have available. And there is also very strong focus by the Executive Secretary, Robert Floyd, on both increasing gender parity, especially in professional categories, and of course on boosting diversity. So depending on your nationality, we're always on a lookout and shout out for new countries and new nationalities to be joining our already very multifaceted and multinational team. So my first advice to you would be follow your call and make sure that the job you choose or the internship you choose is something that makes you smile when you wake up, be it within the UN format or outside of it. From my experience, I, for example, always wanted to be a diplomat. So choosing to start my studies at the Moscow State University of International Relations, my alma mater, the MGIMO, I immediately felt that what would be needed for a modern diplomat is both knowledge of international security, international relations, and also foreign languages. And this is my first advice to you. English is extremely important. Pedro already referred to this. You need to have very strong knowledge of English, but also, if you can, do not neglect additional foreign languages, because they would help you build strong bridges with other people, be it on the team or your partners outside of the team, and they would increase your chances of securing a position in an international organization. What was a life-changing experience for me was when I decided actually to do an exchange abroad in Paris, at Sciences Po Paris, where I started seeing that people from different nationalities would have very different opinions about something that before seemed to be very straightforward and very clear to me. And that a lot of us, even at a young stage, would need to consider how we can discuss things, how we can build bridges, and how we can also find a compromise. And to me, this was something that actually defined my why. For me, my why was I want to be an international diplomat, contributing to the work done by the United Nations and by the international organizations of actually creating this platform, this community where various member states can get together and try to find consensual decisions. Once you have found your why, then make sure that what you do is actually something that you are feeling excited about. When I just started my career, I started it at UNESCO. It was about culture, and I felt immediately that I liked the international environment in which I was. And I was able to build both strong friendships with the people like Paola Leoncini Bartoli and with the colleagues around it. But there were also people who felt that this environment was either too conservative or that actually they were aspiring to do something different. And that's why my second advice to you would be, if you're within the age limits, if you have for CTBTO, it is 2 years after you end your studies, you can apply for internships. Definitely use this opportunity, because it would allow you to get the first feeling and the first understanding of whether this is actually the right environment for you. A lot of things might seem to be very exciting when you read it on the paper, but it's the moment you get inside, the moment you meet the professionals, the top level experts who work for international organizations like the CTBTO, that you can honestly tell yourself whether this is the right place, whether this is something where you actually want to continue investing your time and your energy, or whether maybe you want to do something more related to research, or you want to go into business. And this is also perfectly fine. But internships like the one that we offer, which is actually a paid internship, I know this was one of the questions, is a unique opportunity for young graduates and junior professionals to get a first understanding of what we will offer, and also to build a network. And this is actually where my third advice comes in. Networks are extremely important. Networks are important because they allow you to stay in touch with people, to get the latest information from them, and also to make yourself more visible. And I sometimes hear, and especially I hear this from women, I felt I was too junior to approach this person, or I felt I approached this person, but then I wasn't really sure what we can talk about. Well, my advice is, first of all, prepare. So if you approach someone, especially if you approach someone who is senior, make sure you are very well prepared. You have read everything you can about the person or the sphere the person works in, and especially in the sphere, in highly technical sphere, nuclear disarmament, non-proliferation, prohibition of nuclear testing, like what the CTBTO does. You really need to know the details to be able to be taken seriously. So preparation is key. And then do not hesitate to reach out. Do not hesitate to reach out to people and ask them if you can connect with them online or in person. And also for women, speak up, because it can be during virtual or it can be during live event. A lot of people are there, they listen, they are interested in what's being said, but somehow they feel maybe I'm just not professionally competent enough to ask this question or to make this comment. And really, especially when you're young, you should always raise your hand, keep your hand up, even if the moderator doesn't see you for the first 15 minutes, and ask your question or make your comment, because this is the best way to create a connection with the speakers, who are always enjoy getting questions. They always enjoy getting comments, and this is the way for you to be remembered also afterwards. What the CTBTO offers, and this is something I really want to highlight to you, outside of the internship format, and there will be a link in the chat with internships and also professional positions, which vary from P1 level to more senior ones. And for the P1, P2 level, you would usually need to have between 1 and 2 to 3 years of professional experience. And I will be happy to answer more questions also about how best to prepare for those applications. What we have also, and to me, this is one of the best ways to get your first engagement with the CTBTO, is the CTBTO Youth Group, which I run, which brings together over 1,100 young professionals from 117 countries. So it's an extremely international network, and it creates a real win-win for both you, or for both those youth group members who are part of it, and for us, because what you give us is a new perspective on what we can do to promote the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, about the latest developments in the nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation sphere. It's also your connection, it's your knowledge, and it's your will to contribute your energy to promoting the CTBT. On the other hand, what we give you is educational opportunities. They're both online opportunities, and we do a lot of virtual direct trainings with top-level international professionals. And of course, we open to you our network of CTBTO experts, and especially for those of you on the call who have technical profile. This is a unique opportunity. For example, if you are a hydroacoustic engineer, to connect with one of our colleagues who work in the sphere to understand better the latest trends in the sphere, how to further strengthen your profile. And you can also ask professional or career-related questions, which are always very normally seen, so you should never be shy or afraid about asking those questions. So my advice to you is keep your feet on the ground, aiming at the stars, always deliver your best, and be aware and sure that international organizations do look forward to hiring top talent and also young, energetic, and committed young people. And once again, you have all the links to CTBTO Youth Group, membership, and our internship in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, much appreciated. And thank you for posting the links. What I would probably suggest we do after the webinar. First of all, I wanted to tell everyone who is participating that a recording of the webinar will be available in a couple of days after the webinar on our website. So you can always rewatch and see the slides and all the advice. We will also collect all the web links that were mentioned to the individual programs and opportunities at IAEA, CTBTO, and OSCE, and also included in our web report or in the recording, maybe at the end of it, so that you have them handy, because I saw some questions about it from the participants. In the meantime, I want to remind the participants to put your questions into the Q&A function rather than put them in chat, because otherwise it's difficult to follow it from different places. So I appreciate that. And with that, I would like to give the floor to Paul Henriksson to speak about the OSCE experience and opportunities in recruitment.
Thank you so much, Elena, and hello, everyone. My name is Paul Henriksson, and I work as a Associate Talent Acquisition Officer at the OSCE Secretariat here in Vienna. Before I came here, I've been working for European Union in some missions in Afghanistan, in South Sudan, and in Georgia. And prior joining to international civil service, I was working at a university in Stockholm. Okay, I share screen now. How is it looking?
So far, we don't see it.
Okay.
Maybe it takes a second. Try again. Oh, it's working. It works now. You just need to enter the full screen. Start the presentation. Perfect.
Oh, okay. So, yes, what I'm planning to talk about during these 10 minutes is a little bit short about our organization, a little bit about example of jobs that we have, types of employment. I will push and promote a little bit for our webinar outreach program, and also touch ground a little bit about the engagement with women and youth. So who are we then? The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. We are 57 participating states in North America and in Europe and Asia. And we are actually the biggest regional security organization in the world, actually. We have around 3,500 staff members, and most of our staff, they are working in field operations. I will mention some of our field operations a little bit later. And if you see your flag here, it's because your country of nationality is one of the OSCE participating states. And therefore, you might be eligible to apply for a position in our organization. So what do we do? Our organization has a comprehensive approach to security, and we try to look at it from 3 dimensions perspective, as you see here. And the first dimension is the political military dimension. And here we have the aim to create greater openness, transparency, and cooperation between nations. The second dimension is the economic and environmental dimension, with the aim to support good governance and environmental awareness. And the third dimension is the human dimension. It's very important, with the aim to strengthen democratic institutions, promote gender equality, human rights, and media freedom. If we look where we are present today, we have 3 institutions. One institution is located here with us in the Secretariat. It's the representative of freedom of media. We have one institution in Warsaw, the ODIHR, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights. And we have one institution, HCNM, High Commissioner on National Minorities, in The Hague. So these 3 institutions we have the headquarter secretariat here in Vienna. And then, as you see on this picture, we have 16 field operations. And they are, as you see here also, they are in the Southeastern Europe, Eastern Europe, and in Central Asia. The biggest mission that we have, and the newest one at this moment, is our special monitoring mission to Ukraine. And if you just quickly look at examples of jobs that we have here in the different dimension. So, for example, in the first political military dimension, we have, as I mentioned, also in Ukraine, many monitoring officers. If you look at the second dimension, we have economic and environmental officer, for example. And in the third dimension, we have human rights officers or media monitoring officers. But we also have jobs within the administration, both in the institutions and also in the missions, administrative jobs, as for example, finance clerk, IT assistant, project assistants, etc., etc. So if we look here also briefly on the types of employment that we have contracted staff, as also Pedro mentioned, and we have similar here. I mean, the contracted staff in our organization are similar those in the United Nations system, you know, P1, P2, P3, and so on. And we also have local general service positions and also national contracted staff. We also have consultants and short-term assignments for maybe it could be for a couple of months up to 1 year. And these are also recruited via direct application and will be put on a roster. And a little bit maybe for the guys that don't have so much experience, we also have internships and junior professional officers program. And both of these, it's not mandatory to have any experience, and we have the limit that you, when the vacancy not close, you shall not be older than 30 years. So these two, I would say, they are two good entry positions, and roughly we advertise for interns twice a year, and also for the junior professional officers. The junior professional officers, they are nominated via the respective authorities from the participating state. So it's like a secondment position, so to say. So it's not direct application to us. You have to talk to your nominating authority, either if it's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or if it's a special agency, and then decide if they're going to nominate you or not. And the last position we have, and we have quite many of these seconded staff, they are nominated by the participating states for a specific vacancy notices. And many of our positions, especially in the missions, they are seconded staff. So if you are interested in them, you have to have a dialogue with your nominating authority. But come back shortly to these interns and junior professional officer positions that we have. My experience is from my time here at the Secretariat, many of our interns and also GPOs, they have got after the interns or the GPO program, they have got short terms assignment here. And in that way, they have gained experience. They have learned new things, and they also then have built up some experience, so they are maybe eligible for other international positions in a lower grade. So, and we also have some good experiences that some of these junior professional officers also have been seconded out to missions. And here you see our competence model with the core competences and core values that we have in our organization. And although we all may have different jobs and activities, we have certain competencies and values which are, for us, we expect everyone should have this, so to say. And this is also tested during the interviews. We also have competence-based interviews, and then we also test these core competences. And these competences may be listed in the job descriptions, particularly for international contracted posts. And therefore, also a tip from my side, is necessary to, carefully analyze the vacancy note from the beginning. And at our homepage, we also have a webinar outreach program. And here is one example about preparing job applications for us. And I think also it's very important that you prepare both yourself and your application for the potential job. And I think it's already starts with when you're looking at the vacancy note. There, try to analyze the vacancy note and also try to mirror your experience and your competence to the criteria in the vacancy note. And we have several webinars about preparing job application. We have also about preparing for competence-based interviews, and also for these pre-interviews that are recorded, so-called Sondre interviews. So this is some tip that could be good to look at into. And here we see another example of webinars that we have done, Women at the OSCE, for example, understanding the recruitment process at the OSCE. Here we had a live presentation in Russian. I will also tip you to follow our recruiters on LinkedIn. They often share articles, news, tips, application tips, and also information about upcoming opportunities in our organization. We have here also at our homepage a 10-step guide to how we recruit, both for contracted positions and also, as I mentioned a little bit before, about the secondment position. They are not so much difference, but a little bit anyhow. And it can be a good tip also to learn about how the organization do the recruitment process. It's also so you can learn what to expect during the process, and also get some kind of time frame how long long the process takes. For us, it takes roughly 4 to 5 months to conclude a recruitment process. For engagement with women, we have, for example, recruitment boot camps for women that we have been conducted here. We also, as I mentioned before, we have some specific webinars, for example, Women at the OSCE. And also we have internally a women's advisory group. It's an internal group that advise our Secretary General. One objective is to promote respect and tolerance, gender equality, and women's empowerment in the Secretariat. And also, as Pedro mentioned here, we also have this gender parity strategy that everyone that works in the organization and achieves and recruitment. We have the overall objective of achieving gender parity in all staff categories by 2026. For engagement with youth, we have this OSCE Perspectives 2030 initiative. It's a program with aims at integrating youth voices into our security debates. It's more like an online platform, and selected participants, they take part in interactive webinars and produce joint research projects, etc. You can read about this more on the homepage, and the participation and membership of this group does not lead to any kind of employment, so to say. Now they have a certain amount of experts, but if they need more experts, there will be an open call, so to say. So finally, I want to also tell you that every month we release this talent acquisition newsletter. You can sign up for that and learn a little bit more about us, and also receive tips, and also you can see all our new vacancies that we have. Okay, I think I stopped there.
Thank you, Paul, very much appreciated. And thank you for posting all the links on your presentation. We again will collect them and make them available to our listeners today. Maybe one thing that I would end from my own experience of the engagement with OSCE, I know that periodically the organization also offers scholarship and fellowship for women from the OSCE region, with programs that usually span a couple of months and engage in webinars, workshops, and different topics focused on non-proliferation, arms control, disarmament, security issues in Europe and globally. So that's another opportunity. If we find the link, we'll post it there. But on behalf of myself and our listeners, and my greatest appreciation of all the tips you've already provided and covered, we received an enormous amount of questions that came before the webinar and continue to come now. What I've done in preparation for discussion for Q&A session, because we certainly won't be able to cover everything, every single question, is I grouped some of these questions, and I will be asking, of UNODA, OSCE Peace and Security Program. Thank you for posting a link. Some of the answers you've already provided in your presentations, but may not answered like fully regarding all the options. One thing that, based on your presentations and what you already described, is it seems to me that there are a variety of positions for those who are studying social sciences, but political science, IR, and also obviously management, legal, as well as science and technology fields. And the advice that Paul actually suggested and is valid for all organizations: start with the position announcement and look for the skills and the educational background it asks for. So if it lists the background in policy areas, social sciences, then you are certainly hitting the mark. And as with many of these international organizations, that are positions that could have a combination of both social and technical sciences, or could be specifically geared towards the social, political science, legal background, and science and technology. So correct me if I'm wrong when I give you the floor. There were a number of questions that related to languages. And thank you, Maria, for mentioning that it's always useful to have a knowledge of another language. My understanding is for the international organizations, at least in Vienna, and I assume other organizations as well, English language proficiency, both written and oral, is a requirement, and knowledge of one of the official UN languages is a big plus to that, but it's not necessarily a requirement. Can I ask you maybe Pedro to clarify that question, because it's still kind of recurrent questions that comes up quite often.
Thank you. Yes. So I think, well, in the UN in general and the agency in particular, we have this differentiation between official languages and working languages. Yeah. So official languages are the 6 that we all know. It's Russian, Spanish, English, French, Arabic, and Chinese. And the working languages are usually English and French. Yeah? For the particular case of the agency, we only have one working language, which is English. Yeah? Having said that, I think Maria raised a very valid point. Yeah, for a lot of our positions, for instance, we have a Department of Technical Cooperation who is dealing with the specific region of Latin America. Yeah, so those colleagues who are dealing with Latin America, they have to speak Spanish, for instance. So for certain areas of our work, some additional languages are needed. Yeah, and I think is a very interesting point. Of course, an additional language, an additional UN official language is always giving you some kind of an advantage. Huh? Usually, this advantage is specifically specified in the vacancy notices, also for internships. Yeah, if you speak, let's say, Russian, then that can give you also an advantage for certain areas, like for instance NE or even nuclear security. So those are things that certainly are adding to your application if you speak, if you master several languages. Yeah.
Thank you. And since I have you, there was a question to clarify whether the Maria Skłodowska-Curie, whether males could apply to that. Well, it's specifically for women.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, the whole purpose of this program is to bridge the gap, the gender gap that is very, very important in the nuclear field. So this program was specifically designed to target young women and facilitate their access to the industry and to the area. Yeah, so it's only open for female candidates. Yeah.
Thank you, Pedro. I thought that's the case, but just want to make sure.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask all three of you if you have an answer to that question, or maybe clarify, because in some of your presentations, you either spoke about the age limitation for internships or JPO positions and others, but not all of them. So for the OSCE, if I heard correctly, for the internship positions, there is a 30-year limit, age limit.
Yes, that's correct, Elena. And also for the EPOs, EPO and
EPO
interns.
also?
Yes, 30 years, yes.
The situation is different for the IAEA, as far as I understand. For the internship.
Exactly. So we have a minimum age. So it needs to be you need to have at least 20 years old. But as long as you are, you have completely 3 years of university education towards the achievement of your first university degree, in theory, you are eligible for an internship with us. So there is no top age limit for that. Yeah. But of course, most of our interns are within the range of, I would say, 25 to 30 years old.
What about the JPO positions?
Mm-hmm. For the JPO, there is an age limit of 32.
32, so it's a little.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the fellowships like Maria Skłodowska-Curie?
Mm-hmm. So for the fellowship, there is also a limit. You have to understand that this program is to fund your achievement of an education that is related to the nuclear area. So it's a master degree, including living expenses. Yeah. If I remember correctly, is 30 years old. But if you hold on, I can check that and confirm to you.
Why don't you check and we'll move around with other
Sure,
questions.
of course.
Of course. Clarify it later.
Sure.
Maria, I don't know whether you have that information at your fingertips. If you do, maybe you can tell us about the CTBTO age limitations.
What's important for CTBTO internship is to ensure that the candidate is within 2 years of completing their studies. So also if they're making a break in studies, for example, after bachelor's program, it should be within 2 years. Or if you have completed a PhD, for example, if it's over 2 years, then you would not be eligible for an internship. For the CTBTO youth group, which is more of an open outreach initiative, the age limit is 35. So it gives quite a broad possibility for different variety of profiles to join. And Elena, what I wanted to mention is I will share with you a more detailed presentation from our human resources service with all the HR links and age limitations as well. So you can circulate this to the participants afterwards.
That's excellent, Maria. Thank you. That would be very helpful. And picking up from what you mentioned about the end of studies, like certain number of years after you completed the studies. As far as I understand, across the board, for the internships, it's just the requirement to have the degree. But with respect to the junior positions that are offered at or either JPOs or junior positions, maybe there are different requirements. For entry-level positions, does it require to have a work experience? Can somebody who just graduated from a master's or PhD program be eligible for entry-level positions, or having a work experience is a requirement? That's question number one. Then the second question that many of the participants are interested, sometimes the job announcement lists a desirability or sometimes a requirement to have international experience. And many of them are concerned, like, how do I gain that international experience if I work in my own country? How does it count, or what counts as international experience? And I'll probably stop here, and then so that you can answer these questions and then come back. Who would like to take the floor first? Just I then mute yourself or raise the hand from the panelists. No one?
There were a number of questions, so maybe we should focus on maybe the first ones.
Sure. you know, about the having the experience.
Maybe
For
I can start.
entry level position in JPO positions.
Yeah, so I can start, Elena, if you allow me. Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is, I think, the $1,000,000 question. It's not easy for young graduates, you know, to start a career because most of the vacancies require some experience, and most jobs require also. So if you don't have that experience, it's very difficult to access those jobs as well. Yeah. So yeah. At the agency, we're very strict with that. Yeah, we have what we call P1s. As the classification system is the UN common system. So we have P1s and P2s. For those jobs, we require only a limited number of years of experience, but still some years are required. Yeah, so. Professional experience needs to be relevant to the job you're applying for, yeah, and you need to meet the minimum requirements. So, as I said before, the fact is that we receive a large number of applications, so the competition is pretty high, and you still need to meet these requirements, yeah. The best ways to achieve that, in my experience, yeah. So there is these other programs, the internships, as the colleagues from OSCE said, for those no experience is required, then it's a good way to gather, to accumulate some experience. And at least in IAEA, we take internships very seriously. The assignments are really meaningful, and the experience is positive. Yeah. So yeah. About the question on international experience, yeah. So sometimes we don't require just experience, but also what we call international experience, yeah. So for us, that means, you know, experience that has been acquired at the international level. So for us, there is a huge difference between doing some specific duties at the national level or within a company at the national level, or being involved in, let's say, international affairs and, let's say, duties involving interaction within a region with different countries and different points of view. So for us, international experience is clearly when you have acquired that experience at the international level in an organization that is involving some kind of multinational impact or multinational aspects.
Thank you, Pedro. Would Paul and Maria have anything to add? Maria.
Yeah, I would say also I agree with Pedro there. I mean, you know, if you're lucky to get in on these entry-level positions, like an intern or a junior professional officers, where often there are not so high mandatory things about having experience. And then you can have the luck, as I mentioned also in my remarks a little bit. I have several cases where they have been offered short-time assignments. They have been working here maybe for one year, and they gained experience. And then they are very close maybe to have a 2 years experience. And then they are very, very close to be eligible for a P1 position, for example. So that's my analysis also. These interns and GPO positions, they are very good entry positions. And if you're lucky, you can have the possibility to have a STA, short time assignment, and you learn things, you get the experience.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah.
I would actually agree with what Paul has just been mentioning, because coming myself from the OSCE, where I worked for 6 years, I'm a live example of someone who started there after I did consultancy at UNESCO with a fellowship. And then after a year, I came back on a long-term contract with the organization. And I also see a number of our interns from time to time moving to other partner organizations, doing either another internship or even getting a JPO. But what I would also want to mention is 2 things. For the CTBTO, after an internship, you would legally need to do a 6-month break before you're eligible to have any other contract, be it a consultancy contract or professional contract. So this is something to keep in mind. And also, Elena, you were talking to us before this event, asking about new trends coming up, and in my experience, what I see is that within the UN system in general, and also within our organizations, careers are becoming more and more non-linear. So for example, if 30, 40 years ago, you really wanted and had to get in at the age of 23 and 25, and you would stay for your whole life until you're 65 within the same organization or within the same system. Today, it's actually very well seen if you combine your entry-level experience, be it in a think tank, working for an NGO, working for academia, then you combine it with international experience, and then you apply, for example, for the UN, at times coming actually in not at a junior position, but at a mid-level or more senior position. These days, you should not be too worried that you did not get, this very first P1 or P2 job you applied to, as long as you know that this is the sphere you want to work in. And I see a lot of committed colleagues working with us with technical profiles who waited for some time, got amazing experience back home, and then applied and came and joined us already at the mid-level positions.
Excellent point, Maria, and thank you, Paul and Pedro. Going back to internships, some of the questions that are coming are related to, first of all, are they paid internships? Maybe you can answer for each of your organization. Second question is something that I would like to clarify, and one of our participants asked, is quite often the internships do not count as a work experience. And how do you get from, that's kind of like catch-22. You want to gain some experience, you take the internships, but it doesn't count towards your work experience. Or does it? Maybe that's a question I would like to answer. Particularly, I think it relates to the IAEA. So Pedro.
Yes, thank you, Elena. Yes, our internships are, or all of our interns receive an stipend, depending, it's a different stipend, depending if they have to relocate to Vienna or if they are already residing in Vienna at the time of the internship, yeah? And I can confirm all of our internships are relevant professional experience are counted as such. Of course, if you are applying for a job which is within the area where the internship took place, yeah. So that's the main, let's say, criteria, yeah. So if you have been working, let's say, in administration and you are applying for an administration job, then of course it counts, yeah. So that's the information and about the IAEA.
Yes, and
I would say similar answer from my side. Actually, we paid interns if they have to relocate to Vienna. So, and also as Pedro said, I mean, if they have that experience as an intern in that field, we count it. So I would say yes.
Maria?
Well, we also have a stipend, which is quite generous for those who want to work with us. It's about 1,000 euros, so it covers your accommodation expenses and also most of the living costs, because Vienna is not that expensive. And regarding the question as to whether it counts or not as professional experience, definitely it adds a strong point also for you personally, because you know how it functions from the inside, so it would be much easier for you to pass the screening questions and to prepare for the interview if you have already been on site and you have seen firsthand how we all work. So it's always a big advantage.
Thank you so much, Maria. And do I understand correctly, just kind of a blank question to all, and you can just nod, that all states members of each of your organization representatives can apply for the internship and the entry-level professional, whatever positions are available. there is only a limitation for junior professional officer position, which are usually sponsored by a limited number of governments. Could you clarify that for me, Pedro? Paul?
Yes, so in our case, the junior professional officer program is limited to nationals of those sponsor countries. Yeah, so the number of available positions varies also on a yearly basis, depending on the funding of the country and on the willingness of the country to fund those positions. So, and as I said, the selection process starts at their level through their Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they channel all the applications and they do the selection process themselves, and then they propose some candidates to us that we then assess again. Yeah, but yeah, for us it's limited to nationals of those sponsoring countries.
That's related to JPOs, but the rest of
yes.
it is open to all member states representatives, correct? Right?
Yes, only JPOs are limited. The rest is open for everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly the same for the CTBTO. So 185 states that have signed the treaty, it's open to their representatives. And the JPO is very limited with just a number of targeted member states who fund the JPO themselves.
Thank you. Paul, I hear
Yes.
you nodding. It's similar situation.
Yeah, but for us, all positions are open for the guys for all these 57 participating states. So we have no difference there. The only difference is that we look at the junior professional officers like seconded positions, so they have to go through their agencies, but we don't have any constraints there. Or if you are one of these 57 participating states, you're welcome to, but you have to dig your way forward through your authorities yourself. So, and then they will nominate to us.
Thank you so much. Another question that I continue surprisingly to see among the questions is about the visa requirements and like having a permit to work in a European country. My understanding is like if you receive the position, whether it's an internship or any professional or administrative general position, the organization will sponsor a visa and work permit to you. So there is you do not need to have a European-based work permit or residency to do that. Just tell me once and for all, for our listeners that's they shouldn't worry about having or there are some nuances. If there are, please clarify. Pedro?
Thank you, Elena. I think there are some nuances. So for professional positions, for JPOs, for internships, there are no limits. So you don't need to be legally residing or have a working permit in Austria or in the duty station where you will be assigned. Yeah. However, we have what we call general service positions. So these are positions at the G level, are mainly administrative and operational support positions. In our case, we also have like lab techs or also technical support positions at that levels. Yeah. So for those positions, you need to have a valid residence and working permit in the location where you're applying for. Yeah. So for these GS level positions, G5 or G4, then you need to be residing in Vienna or in Toronto if you are actually applying for those duty stations.
But if I understand, it will always be in the announcement itself, these requirements, correct or not?
So for general services is wherever you are applying for. Yeah, like for instance, if you're applying for a general service position in Tokyo, you need to be residing in Tokyo as well. Okay. So you need to be legally a legal resident and have the right to work in Tokyo. Yeah, but for professional positions, even entry level P1 and P2, for JPOs, for interns, and for fellowships, we do not have that requirement at all. So it's only for this specific category of post, this administrative, technical, and operational support.
Thank you for that clarification. And
You're welcome.
That's very important because it seems to be a recurring question among many
Yes,
of
yes,
the
yes.
listeners. Then let me go to a couple of questions related to the kind of strategies and tactics on how to prepare yourself for a career at the international organization. Many questions, and we've heard some, Maria, of your advice. Maybe sometimes it's better to wait and apply for a higher level position. But if the person is really keen on getting a position at the international organization, what is the best tactic? Do you apply for a little bit position that is a little bit lower than where you exceed the requirements, or you shoot for something like that is either you kind of stretch to get to that position given your education, work experience, and everything else? What do you think? Maria, maybe I'll ask you, since you mentioned some of that in your presentation.
I believe, first of all, it depends a lot on the profile of the position to which you are applying, because, for example, for some highly technical positions, and here we're talking definitely about the work of the CTBTO, which has 3 of its divisions which cover international monitoring, international verification technologies, so it's engineering positions, for example. And also the same most likely goes for the agency. It really depends as to whether you meet the criteria in the vacancy. So, for example, if it says for P3 position, 5 years of professional experience, you do need to be able to prove that you have 5 years of relevant professional experience in exactly the sphere that they're looking for, that we are looking for. What I also feel, and that's what I often feel, colleagues, so it's my personal experience, is that sometimes they do apply for lower positions. So, for example, someone who would have 7 to 10 years of experience would apply for a position where it's only 3 to 5 years that are being required. Whether it really increases the chances or not, I also think it depends on how well you prepare, because to me, preparation is key, and the application should really be top level. I remember the joke from Kissinger, who had a young assistant who would bring to him some reports, and he would not even look at them and write to the assistant saying, is this the best you can deliver? So the assistant would spend another week redrafting everything from scratch. And when he would bring it back to Kissinger, Kissinger would actually say, okay, now I'm just going to take a look at it. So take your applications this way, prepare them, then tell yourself, is this really the best I can deliver? Because this is my face. This is how someone like Paul or Pedro would see me. And then make sure you really put the best of yourself into those applications, because if you do not do it, there will be someone else or a couple of other people who have done it. So take this also very, very seriously.
Thank you, Maria. That's excellent. I think Pedro unmuted. Would you like to add something?
Yes, I think Maria raised a number of very, very valid points. I think it's important to do something that is that you're passionate about. I think that comes across very, very clearly when you put forward an application. So to me, the best strategy is to love what you're doing and to show it. Yeah. And also a very important aspect that she mentioned before is about these non-linear careers. Yeah. So sometimes don't limit yourself so much on international organizations. There is other options out there. Also about what I said about international experience, you do not need to work for an international organization to have international experience. There are multinationals out there. There are other many different options. Yeah. So keep an open mind. Yeah. But of course, preparation is really vital, as I said in my presentation, as Maria also mentioned now.
Thank you. Paul, if you're eager to add something.
No, I can totally agree with all of
Okay.
you. I mean, preparation, it's number one, but also planning for your application. I mean, a little bit as we discussed, what are the main tasks? Is this a work area for you? Do you have the relevant skills and the experience? Would you enjoy this work, and the task, so to say? And does your profile match, so to say? So, I mean, I would say it's also, you have to plan a little bit from yourself and make a decision. And then when you made your decision, go all in, and then you really have to prepare. You have to prepare for the application. You have to do your homework, as mentioned before, also research about the organizations, the mandate, etc., and also be mentally prepared to come to next step for interviews and tests, etc.
And thank you so much. And that's the part that we didn't have time to touch upon, the interviews and assessment tests. But that topic is probably too big to jump on in the remaining time. I know that you provided some of the links that you already have on your websites related to that. And I know that at least in the CTBTO case, there are also some public webinars that they held on that and other organizations. So my suggestion would be for all of our three speakers to send us a list of links and resources that you either didn't include in your presentations and thought about some additional, particularly also related to the recruitment process, the interviews, the assessment tests. I've heard, I believe it was Paul who mentioned that usually the duration of the, from the time you apply for a position may take like anywhere from 4 to 9 months or even longer. I know that the COVID also made some of these processes even longer. And I assume the similar situation is with the IAEA and the CTBTO. So if you don't hear for a long time from these organizations, don't get too frustrated, because the processes are indeed long. With the very little remaining time available to us, I want to first apologize to our listeners that we were not able to address all of your questions. That there are like, I don't know, even in the Q&A, there are 43 questions, and over 50 questions were sent in advance. So it's certainly impossible to answer them in that short period of time. But what I wanted to do is to really thank on my behalf, on the behalf of the IAEA, the EU Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Consortium, Paul, Pedro, and Maria for their excellent presentations and all the tips and insights that they provided. I know we could have spoken for another couple of hours, but I think that the information you provided and we all received is really invaluable. And I see many notes from gratitude directed to the three of you. And in your kind of personal capacity, and I want to, not personal, your official capacity of these organizations, I also want to thank the IAEA, the CTBTO, and the OSCE for really answering the call and joining us today and sharing information about your various engagement opportunities, tips for employment, and many other very, very valuable pieces of advice and experience. With that, I wish all of you and our participants and many other aspiring young professionals and students all the best. Please stay safe and healthy. And with that, we will end our program today. Thank you.
Thank you.